So welcome aboard, everyone, to the virtual Collage Jam for Saturday, November 7th. And if you're joining us today, thank you, because at least here in Southern Ontario, Mother Nature is putting on a stupendous weather, and anyone who's joining us live rather than like, I need to be outside, I'll watch it on the replay is... Thank you. Making a sacrifice. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you. So, couple of things I wanted to mention. One is, and I probably will post some in the not too distant future on the Collage Jam Facebook page and maybe on my Instagram, but I have just started doing some illustration for a book of poetry, which is kind of fun and challenging and interesting and a new thing for me. A good friend of mine, Frank, who used to be an editor, I worked as an art director and he was the editor many years ago. And then his wife was an accountant, and we then ended up going to her as for our accountancy for many years. She passed away earlier this year. And in the thick of COVID, yeah, just after COVID struck. And so Frank got in touch with me a little later and said, you know, she always wanted to publish a book of poetry. And I said, I'm there. I'll design it. I will illustrate it. I'd love to do that. And so I've just started. So it's, and I'm doing them as black and white or grayscale collages, which I enjoy that sort of narrower range of like taking color out of the equation and keeping it grayscale. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Hey Val, welcome aboard, and hi Rebecca and Kirk. Kirk is saying hi. Hey Kirk, good to see you. Or is cross stitch on the menu? Not. I wouldn't be surprised. And there's Rebecca. Wow. So we got you got dueling devices in that household. That's great. And yeah, so decollage is the topic today.
Oh, that's always
and yeah, I love decollage. At first I thought it was silly, and then I tried it a few times and I thought, no, it's ridiculously wonderful. So I've got a few examples of decollage to show you. To start off with, decollage is basically gluing a whole bunch of pages one on top of the other, not too heavily, so that you can then peel back and see what's below. And unless you've got like a way better memory than me, which most people do, but like when I layer them up, I think, okay, this will be interesting to peel back to. This will be interesting to peel back to. And then like after I've glued a few layers on, I was like, I can't remember what's down there. I can't remember how many layers down it is. That face that I thought was so compelling, I don't know. Was it up there? Was it down there? Is it in the other decollage? Then you can tear back, and you can see if you tear back one layer or two layers, like, oh, that's interesting, or is it not interesting? So then you tear back a little further. Oh, look at that shot of color. And you see these juxtapositions between what's on the surface and what's been torn back to. I also like to, because I'm a control freak, I like to sometimes cut back. Decollage is really good for my inner control freak because there's only so much I can control. I can't remember what's below it. If I tear back, I get a surprise, and I like anything that introduces a random element to my overly controlling mind. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples. So this is the one that basically ended up as non-objective. I had there are always design decisions, right? So even when you're picking what to layer up, I obviously picked a solid color. I picked some complementary colors, some things like, oh, this is photographic, this is diagrammatic, these are solids, there are some darks and lights in there. And this one I started, I recall I did this one like 6 months ago, so it's partially faded from memory, the process of doing it. But I do remember there was a face showing up in here, and I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. But faces are really, really powerful. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to take it out. I'm going to peel back to another layer that doesn't have a face and keep this one as a non-objective kind of piece. This one is, I was flipping through magazines and I came across this like really strong graphic coat hanger image. And I just thought, I had an idea right there. I thought, okay, that's the last layer I'm going to put down. And then these things that are apparently draping over are things that I cut and peeled back to reveal from below. And I just thought this image, oftentimes for me anyway, that whatever's on the top is sort of the thing that I'm playing against, because how much do you leave of it? How much do you use? And that's the last one that I can see it, right? So I remember what it is. This is a good example of that same thing. So this this woman, this model here, was the top image. She was on a gray background, and she was wearing like an ornate, very patterned dress. And so I cut away a lot of her dress. You can see I cut one of her hands out and moved it over, which I think was kind of fun. And if you've taken classes with Kim, you know, she's always saying, don't get stuck to your whatever you're using, like mess with it. So I had left her face like pristine for quite a while, because it's like, well, I don't know. But then I decided it was time to get interesting. So first thing I did was remove her irises and peel back to something. And then I started cutting back to facets of her face, like using some of the shadow in the cheeks and so on. And like, oh, what's below? Okay, that's red. That's kind of cool. Oh, that's, sometimes I peeled back to things I didn't like, so I peel back a little further. I sort of created a horizon line that wasn't there by cutting and peeling back there. Yeah, so it's this kind of give and take game that I quite enjoy. So that's what's on the agenda for me. How is everybody? How you doing? Kim's busy answering you guys on the chat, but I'm going to say hi. Hi, Gunta. Hello, Val. Hey, Jane. Welcome back. And I think I've said hi to everyone who's here. Great to have the stalwarts along. And are you planning on doing some decollage, or have you got something else in mind? And let us know. And I'm going to start, as usual. I'm going to work on more than one, I think. And I'll push this back and get down on the table here a little bit.
I was just posting on Instagram to let everybody know that this was live.
Yeah. So there's I gathered a bunch of stuff just a little bit ahead of time, looking for different kinds of things to layer up. And I think I'll probably do like maybe 2 or 3, and then I'll start peeling back.
And you can say hi to Francoise.
Hey, Francoise.
And to Sandy.
Hey, Sandy. Welcome aboard. Yeah, that's great.
Great to see you.
Yeah, yeah. Looking for this. Now, if I get this back just a little bit further, maybe you can see a little bit of my work surface. Get a little lower. And some of these, I have some solid colors. I sort of like a mix of solid colors and sort of text kind of things and strong images. So, but let's just start with a color.
Susan Dane is joining us.
Hey, Susan, welcome aboard. Are you collaging? We were watching something just. We were watching Long Way Up with Ewan McGregor and Charlie Borman, and they were riding. In fact, it was only Charlie at that point riding in Panama, and he was like looking at the canal, and then we were just like, Susan's been there. But, Susan is a kick butt painter, for those of you who don't know her, and she's done many lovely series and has a real knack for the colors of concrete. And so she did an entire series playing with the further and further abstracting the massive concrete shapes of the locks in the Panama Canal. All right.
So Val says she's sitting outside not working.
Oh, well, I can't blame you.
Yeah. Enjoy.
Yes, absolutely.
Can you believe we could do this in November?
No, it's craziness, but it's great. It's wonderful. Especially after having some cold weather, right? I think you always appreciate it more when you've had that sort of, oh yeah, winter's on its way. I feel this like it's -5, whatever, really. Yeah. And then suddenly it spikes back up, which is great.
Rebecca says she and Kirk are also outside. Kirk is cross-stitching, of course.
Yes.
And she's going to watch the Decollage for a bit and then may join in.
Right. Excellent. Sounds like a good way to get warmed up.
And there were a couple of comments earlier. Francois saying happy about Joe.
Oh, good. Yes.
And Jane with many, many exclamation marks says, I'm so happy that Trump is out. What a weight lifted. Seriously.
Well,
right?
yeah.
So
just, I mean, that it was as close as it is speaks poorly. It's unfortunate, but, and it's kind of, he's been such a polarizing factor too. He sort of let a lot of people, miserable people, out from under their rocks, and now they're going to be hard to get back underneath.
But this is one of those lovely places in the world.
Exactly.
That isn't full of all that stuff.
Exactly.
So we'll just enjoy.
Yes, exactly.
Being creative and leaving the world to itself for an hour and a half.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So Susan says, "Oh, cool. Do I have to see the film?" So Susan, it's a series on Apple TV Plus, and it's possible, of course, that YouTube has clips, and I'll put the name of it. Let's see, it is on Apple TV Plus. I'm not sure how to spell Ewan McGregor's last name. I think it might be M-A-C. It is. This is maybe the third series they've done of doing long distance motorcycling adventures. The first one we watched way back when I was preparing for my big solo car camping trip across North America. And it was called Long Way Round. And I still love to watch it. So they went from London to New York City the long way round. So they went through, Europe, Eastern Europe. They were in some of my favorite places were Kazakhstan and Mongolia and Siberia. And then they crossed over to Alaska and down through Canada, where Canada did not do itself proud. Ewan got hit by a car there by an idiot kid who was paying no attention at all while driving too fast. It was just insane. Anyway, so I think they avoid Canada now, and then down into the States and across the U.S. So that was psychologically the best preparation for my big adventure that I could have imagined. So this one has a variation in that they are riding on basically prototype electric motorcycles you know, starting at Tierra del Fuego and going through countries that have no infrastructure for such things. So their adventures getting charged, and they're accompanied by 2 prototype electric pickup trucks. So it's quite interesting. And of course, they go through some spectacular places. Anyway, let's catch up with the chat now that I've gone on. Gerda's here. Hey,
Hey,
Gerda.
Gerda, welcome aboard. I hope you can comment. Well, obviously you can, yeah, which is great. Yeah, so you figured it out. Yeah, no, I mean, well, she's had troubles with
Oh, I see. She's had
with
trouble
commenting.
with the chat.
Yeah,
right. So
obviously you got that, so that's great. Yay.
Yeah. And Gunta says, I'm enjoying just sitting back and watching you at work.
Totally, absolutely fine.
And she has a couple of questions.
Yeah, fire away.
Did you prepare your color layers ahead of starting this work? Is the first question.
My color layers. No, I didn't.
What color layers do you have?
So what I've got in front of the sum total of my preparation prior to the jam starting was to go through a bunch of magazines and look for some compelling images, some compelling shots of color within images, like this one here has a lot of juicy color. Some things that contrast with it. That's just a page of text, for instance. That's very different. And basically anything that looked different than the rest of the stuff I was finding. Like this is very interesting. This sort of very ornate, intricate design. And
beautiful.
I'm being fairly loosey-goosey about just like what I'm putting down. I'm like, okay, I've put a couple of those kinds of things. I'll put something that's very different.
Thinking contrast.
Thinking contrast, exactly,
yeah.
But not really thinking way too much. Like I know that I put a bunch of warm colors in the lower bases of this, so I'm thinking I'll probably put a cool in here somewhere. But really, the thing that I like about this is that it gets away from being too control-y, which is, you know, I can do that plenty well. So yeah, no, there's not a ton of planning. A little bit.
And Gunta has also asked, can you tell us your thinking process as you choose what to glue down? Well, we've already.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah,
right?
that covers it pretty much there. So most of the time I put down a full sheet, but right now I'm just thinking I'm going to put in a couple of partial sheets, just because that sounds a little more interesting. But you know how I mentioned that I needed some cools, so I'm going to layer in a couple of cools here.
I'm just going to log off and back on again because I'm in the wrong account.
Uh-oh.
I want to be in the correct account.
There's no accounting for her.
Sandy, before I go, Sandy has a question. Do you ever use gel matte medium or only glue stick?
I do use medium upon occasion, but I have to admit, for most of my collaging, I will use glue stick just because it's so simple. It keeps my life straightforward.
You don't have the wetness and the water absorption.
Yeah, yeah. Now I do make collages using medium, and but it's a different animal. It definitely, when you get paper wet with medium, it does. You have to work quickly because it gets soggy. It can be much more substantial once it's dry, right? Which is good. So it really depends on the material, but I use a lot of relatively thin, not super thick cardstock, which a gel would be great for gluing down. Kim, could you get that piece from my studio with the big, it's a 24-inch panel with the big empathy icon on it that's underway? That's one that I used medium on.
Would it be under the
table, it will
or?
be leaning up against the bookcase.
Okay.
So I do use medium, but a lot of the times, most, 90% of the time, I just use glue stick just because it's so direct. It lets me stay with what I'm interested in, which is the process, rather than worrying too much technically about. Now, I'm not working on massive pieces either. A lot of the time, a lot of my collages are sort of modestly scaled, like I'm working here on a 9x12 pad. So
Here you go, dear.
thank you, Kim. I will take it from you. Oh, that's perfect.
Just call me Vanna.
I tell you. Thank you, Vanna.
We're gonna have to improve the wardrobe budget, though.
Yes, there's a slight difference in our wardrobe budget compared to others. So here's a perfect example of a piece that this has been done with medium, because I wanted, first of all, I wanted it really well glued down. I wanted to be able to wrap it around, which this kind of doing that with a glue stick, not so good. So this has been done using magazines and printouts from the internet, using gloss medium. So it's not that I don't use it. It's just that
only for certain applications.
Yeah, that seems to me a good application for it. Whereas here, and actually for decollage especially, you don't want it too well glued down. In fact, I might be, because I'm walking and talking and working at the same time, I might be gluing things down a little bit too hard. You want it to be able to remove it again, right? So you don't want to be like super gluing it down. Not super glue, but gluing it down too strongly.
There's also that extra strong glue stick now. Elmer's.
Oh, see, I
mentioned it in a...
Right, yes. So I am intentionally being a little bit more sloppy with my glue stick, not getting every last little bit. I'm sort of leaving gaps between my strokes of glue intentionally to make it more removable. Now, occasionally I will then have to do a little fixing after the fact, like, oh, that part is peeling up when I don't want it to. So I need to get a little more glue underneath it. But all right.
By the way, sorry if you can hear me chewing.
Tasty treats with Kim.
Sandy thanks you for the info.
That was probably way too long. Sorry, it wasn't succinct.
It's all right, dear. Relax. We're having a conversation, not a timed speaking slot at the UN.
She's good to me. What can I say?
Rebecca would like to know how many layers you do.
I don't really count them, but I would say somewhere between 10, 15. Because that's another way you sort of hedge your bets. If you have only 3 or 4 layers, you may be like, okay, this area I really need a dark in it, right? So you're peeling and you're like, oh, that wasn't it. Oh, that. And then you're out, right? So,
and that ties into the thing that I'm always on about, which is don't starve yourself as an artist. Don't do the bare minimum and then have the experience of, oh, that's too bad. That wasn't enough.
Yeah, like this is one that I did before that I never got to the peeling, but 1, 2, 3, 4. That one may only have 5. That's not very many.
That's not enough.
No, exactly.
You'll have to add to that.
Yeah. Whereas now I think in this one I've got close to 10, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can only count 6, so maybe it's maybe it feels like it's more than it actually is. So.
Oh, that's cool. Gonna use that, eh?
Yeah, I thought I found in my collage bin. I think this is from you, isn't it? Yeah, this is one of Kim's
my virtual studio parties.
Yeah,
Experimenting.
Kim's. Is this what kind of paper is? Is this the?
It's Chinese mulberry.
The mulberry paper. Yeah.
Chalk pastel rubbed in.
Okay. Yeah.
And then gel printing on top.
Right. All right. So that's going in there too, because I thought that would be kind of interesting.
It would be quite different.
Yeah. And I think maybe something diagrammatical too. I've got a couple of options in that camp. I've got some pages I cut out of a popular mechanics how-to book.
Oh, that's a classic.
Which I love.
Yeah.
It's fun having that in the mix. But I've also got some maps.
Whoa. I just tried to chat and went to all kinds of weird places. All right. Let me do that again.
A little
weird glitch.
Yeah. Yeah, so this feels, I can feel a little bit of the dust left over, and I'm so used to working with magazine pages that's quite a different effect and feeling. All right. Yeah.
Ricky has joined us.
Hey, Ricky.
He says, hello,
welcome
all
back
from Philadelphia, the birthplace of liberty, yet again. Phew.
Yes, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah. I liked that quote from your mayor. He said, I think it's time that Donald Trump put on his big boy pants and congratulated the winner. And I just thought, yeah.
Seriously. He doesn't know how to do that, though. Marie. Hey, Marie.
Hey, Marie.
She says, hi, you two. Just watching, learning, and being inspired.
Just hanging out, right?
Nice.
Yeah. Are you outside by any chance, Marie? Half of our contingent is, I think, and I don't blame them whatsoever.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I wonder if it's like calm enough that I could take collage papers out to our patio.
Collage is a difficult one.
It is tricky. I think
if we had a screen tent, it would be more doable because then it would limit the range it could blow. Screen gazebo or something.
Yeah. All right.
That's what we need out there. That and a hot tub.
All right. Now comes the interesting one. I'm ready to put the top layer on, and the top layer for me is important because it's the one that I can still remember after a few seconds, and so it's the one that I will leave at least some of, most likely. And so I also don't want to be too literal. So it should have interesting stuff, but stuff I want to mess with as well.
Jane asks, are you working on one decollage or many at one time?
I am thinking I'm going to work on, I think I said 2 or 3, and it may be 2 just so that I get to the decollage part. Because I often get...
It's only 90 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put... Is this Emma Thompson? No, Emma, what's her name? The Harry Potter girl.
Emma Watson. She's a beautiful young woman.
She certainly is. They picked well.
Marie says she's inside right now. She didn't think her internet would hold outside.
Right, yes.
Yeah, that's typically a problem. Because of the solidity of exterior walls, it makes it hard for the signal to travel. Aside from anything else. We upgraded our internet recently and we're very excited.
Cal is like excited, and Kim is like off the dial because she is our technical department. And yeah, she's extremely happy with our increased speed.
Yeah.
Unlike, I'd say 95% of people, we hardwired our house for Ethernet in 2003.
Yeah.
So we have outlets where we can plug in our Ethernet throughout the house, which has been great. But now with this upgrade, our Wi-Fi, at least as long as you're at the end of the house that you can get a good signal, is actually faster than the hardwiring. So,
well, the thing is, the hardwiring was limited by the speed
of the
of
cable.
our service.
Right.
So our network was fast, but our internet wasn't any faster than the service could provide. So in fact, we were operating at 1/3 of the speed our network was capable of.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know that.
And now we're operating at 50% more than our network is capable of. So
right.
Wi-Fi is faster than our hardwired network,
which is crazy.
And since we're constantly doing video classes and uploading videos and streaming video, it's really, really helpful. So.
All right. So I don't know whether I ever. So 2, Jane, is how many I'm going to work on.
Yeah, you did actually.
Yeah. Okay.
It bears repeating.
Yeah. So I've got the first one done, and now I'm going to do the second one, and then I'm going to go back to the first one while the second one dries a little bit. Obviously, glue stick doesn't really take a ton of time to dry.
It still needs some time, otherwise it's still movable and moist.
So
if you want, you can turn on that little fan if that would help for.
Right.
Of course, you'd have to weigh down your pages, I guess.
Yes, there is that.
It's pointed at a certain way.
That's kind of fun.
I seem to be bouncing the table too. I noticed it's showing up on the screen.
That's hilarious. Yeah, Kim is.
It's my ADHD. I bounce my knees a lot.
Kim's knees are always bouncing, and I'll walk into the room and I'm like, "What's that noise?" It's just Kim that bouncing her knees as she's thinking and working on something.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I have a thought as far as what came after this. It was
the map, I guess.
No, the map is going to figure into it. I think it was a. Who knows? Who knows?
Sorry.
All right. Oh, if you'll spend all of your time apologizing if you apologize every time I lose my train of thought. Because that happens a lot.
I was just thinking all the layers I have up on our whiteboard. It's like I like to collage, but without gluing anything down.
Well, that would be
just clip things up together.
I think that's pretty much true.
Cherie, if she were here, would understand because she gets the. But I want to be able to rearrange it.
All right. I think that, and I think this. I want some black and white action that's got a little bit of typography in it to peel back to.
Detail.
Potentially. Yeah. And it's always like whatever planning I do, it ends up never showing up anyway. So, which is great
because you have to have a reason to put certain things
down,
exactly, even if it doesn't bear out.
Exactly. It's sort of whatever gives you enough confidence to stick something down.
Yeah.
And that's its role.
Exactly. I do love magazine pages.
Me too.
I miss magazines.
So if you are doing a decollage today, what kind of materials are you working with? Let Kim know and she'll pass them along. As usual, I have a fair bit of fashion magazines, but I like this image I'm working with right here is from National Geographic, and I'm intercutting them, as I mentioned, with some solids, some diagram stuff.
The Popular Mechanics.
The Popular Mechanics, the diagrammatical, in this case, a map, I think. And is there anything else that I've got here? Yeah, I think that's really the bulk of it.
I think I should scan this in. Go scan it in now in case you want to use it.
She's taking stuff out of my pile. This happens when you have two artists in the house. They look at each other's stuff and think, Yeah. In fairness to Kim, you'll notice she said she's going to scan it so that I can use the original, which is very considerate, as you would expect.
Oh my God, we need a bigger studio. Jane says she's using newspapers on top of an old painting.
Ooh, nice. Jane, I have the feeling that I am using something you contributed to our collage pile many moons ago because it's a New Yorker.
Yeah.
Or sorry, a New York Times magazine. So, yeah, I think that came from you originally. Isn't that fun? I don't know why. Normally I don't. Normally I keep it to full pages, but in this one I'm putting in a few partials. Really too much in the way of small pieces. You don't find them anyway. Well, or the odds are low. For some reason I just feel like that's somehow a good idea in this case. I don't know why. I guess I should give some thought as to what's going to be my top image on this one. Top image, top layer. It probably will be an image, but whatever the top is. I notice I often lean towards something black and white, or at least low color, I guess, because then I peel back to something juicier. But maybe going against that grain might be interesting too. So I put in most of this yellow page with a basketball player on it earlier. Just one layer earlier. I'm just wondering what would happen if we put 2 layers but separated both pieces, but separated by some more. I don't even know how that plays when we're talking about decollage.
Well, now's the time to find out.
Yeah. And I had where was it? Since so much of my imagery is relatively artificial, I was just wondering whether it might be interesting to have a sort of a natural world image on the top. That might be interesting. Or maybe
set up our new Wi-Fi on that print. Now I can use my scan.
And if you're wondering why Kim hasn't been answering your comments, it's because she's been ADD woman and is headed off to do some technical stuff while leaving you in the lurch.
Thanks. Well, let me get us caught up. Ricky says, I started one last week using colored tissue paper.
Ooh, yeah.
It made some interesting patterns on the base layer, but really did not work at all. Too thin, I guess. Yes, the tissue is very thin, so something a little sturdier would help with the problems you encountered. But tissue has that translucency that's so nice. So Jane says, yes, Colin is a news hound and usually gets the New York Times every day, and we get the New Yorker, but need more glitz in our magazines. Ricky adds, gotta figure out how to use those great cartoons in the New Yorker. They can't be beat. Yeah. I used to read the New Yorker just for those, really. I found the pages too gray. I did eventually start reading it some in my 20s, but I like a livelier print design for reading.
Yeah, so decollage actually started, as far as I'm aware anyway, as a thing. I'm sure people did it before then, like Kurt Schwitter's, there's a decollage aspect to some of his pieces. But in the 60s, with artists, I think looking at, when you had a wall where poster after poster has been glued,
Billboards,
laid up and then torn away. Yeah. Hoardings, yeah. And I think some of them would be like, okay, I'm going to like saw this off and take it to the studio and use it. Yeah. But the whole, that idea of like glue up layers and then tear back. Some of the artists, I can't remember them all, but Mimo Rotella, I think Raymond Hain, Hain, did some nice decollages. Wolf Vostel, but it was a real thing in the 60s. And I don't know where I was going with that beyond that. So just that sort of where I think that sprung from something you said, but now I can't remember how. So sorry. Yep, my bad.
One of the things that was amazing on campus when I used to go to University of Toronto was all the layers of bills,
yes,
posters, advertising, the millions of talks and concerts and films and events, and the collage and decollage of them in the real world. So it's no wonder to me that It's a form of street art, incidental street art.
Yeah.
It's very inspiring.
Artists are noticers, right? They notice what's around them, and they see the artistic potential and things that other people don't. And that's a perfect case in point. Like, other people would be just like, oh, what a mess. Look at the, layer after layer, and I can't make anything out. And the artist is going, right?
What were the names you mentioned, Cal? Kurt Schwitters?
Yeah.
Schwitters.
Not he. I'm sure he did some, but the art
predates the 1960s.
Oh yeah, that has to be my top layer. I love that it's even sort of torn already.
Excellent. Gets you started.
Yeah.
Who else did you mention?
Raymond Hain, Hain. I think it's a French name, but so Raymond Hain. Wolf Vostell at Vostell. Mimo, so Mimmo Rotella.
Double LA.
I think so, yeah. And there are other ones too. Those are the ones I can remember.
Well, that's a good start.
Yeah. In fact, if you're curious, the best thing to do is just go to Wikipedia. I think that when I was first becoming aware of it, I went to Wikipedia, and they had a list of like decollage artists, and that's where I sort of got my start figuring out who's who.
Okay. Got some catching up to do.
And in fact, sorry, just before you do, Mark Bradford, who's contemporary and definitely uses a lot of decollage in his work as well, in a very different way.
I am the queen of transposing letters these days. Okay, so Jane asks, how do you know when to stop with the layering and start with the ripping? Well, one thing just came up right there because you said, I really want this to be my top layer.
Yeah, so the top layer for me is important. Like some people, I think maybe not so much. But because that's the one I play off of and try and leave at least some of. And in fact, again, they've ended up looking similar. So both my top layers relatively similar in this case. This one is a compelling image because it's got like a double image already, and it had been torn accidentally, which I like. So maybe it's too prescriptive. But to answer your question, it's intuitive. I do it until I feel like I've glued up enough that there will be some interesting stuff to peel back to. Somewhere between 7 and 15 for me, but you could do 20, 30, you can do 5.
I think 20 or 30 would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, because then you could like really incise it.
Yeah.
Mark Bradford does some like he layers up so much stuff that he then uses power tools to like grind into it or router into it. Yeah, that's very much Kim's style. Cal's more polite, small.
And easier to manage for people's homes.
Yes, well, there's that too. Yeah. So
Gunta says she has a friend who wallpapered her bathroom with New Yorker covers and cartoons. People always took a long time when they visited there.
Yeah.
I believe it. Fascinating.
I'm going to start off with Emma. And I'm going to remove, this sounds wrong, remove some of her clothing. And leave her for the time being.
Well, that'll be interesting.
And just see.
Yeah.
And so what I'm doing is I'm cutting, I don't know how many layers I'm cutting. At least one. Maybe I should cut hard enough to get additional layers so that if I don't like the first layer, I can get something else. So some people launch in with tearing. I'm going to start with cutting in this case, but that may change. Right. I was just thinking, what if I sort of stop cutting halfway down her arm, and then I might, as I get to that point, it might just start tearing, which might be interesting. So. I definitely did a poor enough job on gluing this one that it's peeling up nice. Well, I spoke too soon. It peeled really easily there and a little less so here, but it's actually peeling back to a different layer, which may be interesting.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I love the sound of ripping. I think there's something subversive about the sound of ripping and tearing, because it's generally something you're trying to avoid.
Yes, absolutely. Like, it's usually the kind of sound that halts your progress quickly, right? It's like, oop, oop, I tore it.
That's right.
Whereas
or
this
you're
time,
trained to avoid it as a child.
Yes.
Like a parent hears the sound of ripping and tearing, and they're all over you.
Yeah.
Whereas you can quietly paint the bathroom in lipstick and nobody hears.
Not that you would know anything about that.
No. Lipstick and mascara to get the good black.
Yeah, you got to know your materials, right?
Yeah. That's right.
So with me, the decollage is always about, like, what do you discover? How do you like it? Is it an interesting surprise? Is it more what you were looking for or less? And I will often, what I'm doing right now is I'm peeling just to see, take a little peek, right? Because what I've done is I've removed some of what the black top that she was wearing to reveal that's that jelly print or layer that Kim had in the diagram. And then I thought, okay, well, what's below that? I can always glue this back. So, but it looks like it's a little bit of hair from some other, and this might be more interesting. It's someone else's shoulder and hair that kind of aligns, but kind of not. So it gives this kind of creepy, interesting difference, which is kind of fun. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to have to go with that. Now, I like some of this too, so I'm going to see if I can strategize a way to leave some of that. In fact, I might sort of try and follow that shoulder a little bit from below and leave some of this.
Trust Cal to do careful decollage.
Yeah, well, guilty as charged. Yeah, yeah, it's true. It's true.
Just so you know, he makes exquisite work as a result, but you can also come at it more hammer and tongs if you want. It's whatever suits you, right?
Yeah, I am me.
Yeah.
And me does this weird precision decollage. But that's what makes it my kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I took a little peek underneath and saw that this model is wearing that. And I thought, well, what about if you leave some of the diagram there. And we'll see whether that holds as an idea worthy of leaving or, ooh, that's too much fun. Too much fun. Now that I see this, I remember, oh, right, I had a a page where the woman had her hands like this, and I had cut those hands out for something else. And I thought, oh, that's great, because whatever was beneath would show through. And I've sort of come to one of those hands, and I'm just thinking it would be kind of cool to have that in the mix. So I'm going to sort of tear to reveal a bit of that. There's always something interesting to me about, well, not always, interesting of late to me anyway, about multiple hands. It kind of speaks to motion or more than one possibility somehow. You know, when you have a photograph that has the stages of what do you call that? Like Edward Muybridge stuff, stop motion photography.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've ended up with a couple of hands in the bottom corner, which is kind of nice. And one's a graphic one, and one is a photographic one.
Nice.
I might show, yeah, peel just a little bit more so I can see just a little more of that hand. I don't want to lose that entirely, so yeah, that's kind of nice. And then this could follow that tear. There, that's kind of fun. And there, that's a piece that needs a little...
Lots of gluing.
yeah, it's basically, it's almost falling off right now. So, but I want to keep it, at least for now, so I need to glue it back in. So I think Jane mentioned what she was using decollage wise. What are you guys using, if you are indeed doing decollage?
Yeah, those who aren't just chilling.
Yeah, chilling is fine, and even collaging, it's like, oh, I don't want to do decollage, but I'll do my own thing. That's totally cool, obviously.
Rebecca says she's got a pile of magazines she's using.
Great.
Piles of magazines are just a treasure trove.
Absolutely.
I'm sitting here getting a completely non-collage idea for a multi-stage, very wet, rather messy process that I'm going to have to take on after this is over, I think. Certainly can't take it on right now. Sorry, Dave.
Sorry. Yeah. I am just contemplating my next possible move.
I like where this is going, Cal. It really looks very interesting. Corner is really working.
Yeah, no, it's quite interesting, which is exactly what you'd hope for. So I'm entertaining a bunch of thoughts, and I'm unsure which right now. I want to take a little look-see at what that layer is. If I can see it, I might not be able to. Okay, the next layer is white-ish anyway. Oh no, it's the diagrammatic one, so maybe not there. I want some areas of quiet too. And so I'm liking the whites. They may not stay, but so I'm thinking I might cut away into her parts of her face or part of her hair or both. I think I'm going to start with the hair and just pick an arbitrary place to.
You also have some text layers that might function as quiet, but
yeah, exactly.
Less.
Maybe further down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jane says she's using a circular cutter, so she's getting some weird cutout and ripped shapes.
That's great.
Yeah, it's quite a different. It limits how nimbly you can cut.
Which can be a good thing.
Yeah, sure. And when you say circular cutter, I'm thinking you mean a rotary cutter, Jane, or do you mean the compass style circular cutter? I'm guessing you mean the rotary cutter, though.
All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut deeper because I know the first few layers I don't want. I don't know what's further down there, but I know I don't want the first couple in this position. I lost my thread.
Yes, Jane, that is a rotary cutter. Yeah, a disc that's a blade. Yeah. And it's used most often for fabric cutting because it's the perfect cutter for fabric. So quilters use it, but of course it can cut whatever it can cut. So
we did some very long straight cuts on one of Kim's on your hanging pieces for the Redhead show and for show
the
before that.
Cutter was good
yeah,
for that.
Using the rotary cutter.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. So
it doesn't pull fibers, and that's one of its biggest pluses. It's also just kind of fun zooming along. I love that. It's only 3 o'clock and the sun is already way over.
Yeah, it's hard these days.
Oh, I keep bouncing my leg. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm probably jiggling the camera.
So I've cut out beside her face and removed some of her blustering hair and arrived at another image of blustering hair, which is kind of fun because it's different hair. Exactly. So that may stay if it's interesting and different enough. Now I've got this hand here of hers that I'm cutting out right now. And I'm thinking even if something else shows through, it'll read as a hand well enough. So I might try removing her.
Boy.
It just sounds it sounds kind of macabre, yes, when you say I'll just remove her hand. But because if we end up with something else, it will still, which we will, it may still well read as a hand kind of nicely. Except that diagram is very strong, which is good in some respects and not so good in others. Let's see what's below. Below is that, which we have right beside it already, but what's even below that? I may not have cut strongly enough. Let's find out. Yeah, that's not going to work. But what's below that? Ooh, that might work. Okay, so I have to cut deeper. I've got these hand edges for the layer down to the layer that I want. All right. Of course, I can't remember whether I cut all the way around or not. We'll find out. I think orange might be interesting. And of course, it's not orange in particularly the spot I was imagining. And I haven't cut that side. It could be a three-dimensional thing with all these hand-shaped layers being peeled up. Something I always try too is every once in a while I'm peeling something back and maybe not completely removing it, but flipping it back and incorporating it somehow. So I'm always open to that as an idea as well.
When was the last time you held this up?
It's been a while, so
when you get it, yeah, that's actually fun with all the flaps.
So you can see there's that sort of discovered hand, and then this is the diagram into the shape of the image of the woman below and her top. And here right now I'm playing with what do I reveal? Certain layers don't read as a hand anymore. Some are kind of hiding. So I'm just trying to figure out what to do with this. And I'm thinking I might like pull some of them out, but not remove
Before
them
you tear anything,
Yep.
I just like to make the case for a dimensional pop-up.
Yeah, no,
because the repetition and the backs of them, and honestly, it's amazing.
No, there's definitely something there that's interesting.
Sandy says, "Very cool."
Oh, I'm glad you're finding that interesting, Sandy. What's under the orange layer? Sneak a peek if I can.
So often decollage is a process that allows you to let go of control. And I just find it so amusing that Cal's like, oh, let's sneak a peek here. Let's see. Nothing wrong with it, but it's just
no,
funny.
but it is. with
Because
me,
you are a control freak, and this is your control freak version of Decollage.
Yeah, no,
It's
for
hilarious.
like most Decollage does not look at all like this because it's not. But yeah,
but you're you, as
Yeah,
you said. So, but I just wanted to mention that so that
Mhm.
anyone watching who's not accustomed to Decollage,
no, I mean this is
understands.
arguably not the way it's done, right?
Well, it is when you're doing it.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
I wouldn't dismiss it like that. Ooh, a little hand-shaped book. Giving me so many ideas today, Cal.
Well, there you go. Well, that's great, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I'm already behind on my work, but I might have to put it off a little longer. Do some playing.
So sometimes I need to put it down, and I think that's the case with this one because I'm sort of stymied with the hand, and what led me to that was I was coming to the idea that I should put it down as I was having an idea that's maybe interesting just within that one spot, but it doesn't feel like it's serving the overall. And some of the pieces I like best, for instance, I'm quite fond of this one, and this one I put down half a dozen times because I wasn't sure what the next move was.
Set it aside.
Exactly. Just like, okay, this is interesting, but now I'm not sure. So put it aside, worked on other stuff, came back to it. And I'm going to try that same thing with this one because I like some things, and that area has got me a little flummoxed. So
your subconscious needs to chew on it for a while.
Yeah, exactly. So this one I have to fight against the fact that I already love the way it looks.
Seriously, it looks great.
And part of that is because the image that I put on top is a very artistic image of multiple scaled exposures, and that's cool, but it's not what I want to stick with. So I'm going to try to go in and defeat some of that right away, because I want...
You want to pull away from the source material.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's my...
That's the thing. Being too precious about source material is it's an understandable, but it is nonetheless a trap.
It means you don't get far enough away from what you've got already into
someone else has done.
Yeah, exactly. And collage rides a lot on what someone else has done already. So it's a case of how can you break free of that a little bit
and travel down the pathways far enough that are your own.
I tell you, Poils.
Val says that she decided to do some work, but then she had to chase down her wind-blown papers twice. I believe it.
Yeah. And in fact, Val was doing some very cool collages, some of what she posted on the Collage Jam, where she was using like a dress that she'd cut out of a very unequivocal image of a woman in a dress, and then had changed it into a vase. So she's like really changing, like not being locked into the source material, which is great.
Yeah.
Seeing the potential and for something else.
Yeah. Carrying off in that direction.
Yeah.
like the wind carried off her face.
It's a win-win.
See if I ever actually did the scan. No, just the overview. All right. Yeah, there's lots of depth in that one.
I'm actually tearing the layers apart to see if there are interesting things part way, which there all often are.
Ricky says she enjoyed that one also. I guess Valerie's
The one that Val posted, yeah.
the vase dress.
Yeah.
Ricky asks, how many layers did you have on the Facebook one? It seems like just a few.
On this one here,
Do you want me to try counting them
sure.
while you work on your
Yeah,
collage there?
yeah. I think it looks to me like there are 5 or 6, but sometimes they're so well glued that it's hard to tell whether they're actually.
Seven.
Very, very counted there.
Cal, do you have all your winter courses figured out?
I haven't figured out the courses that I am offering on my own hook, but I know what I'm offering for other people. So,
Do you remember what you're offering with DAM and
So
Nielsen Park?
with Nielsen Park, I am offering a course called Transcending Your Reference Materials, which we have talked about some of the aspects here. That is an 8-week course, and I don't remember the exact day. It starts on it's Wednesday mornings, and it starts mid to late January. And that's all about the fact that different strategies to get beyond, just replicating your reference, which happens to me over and over and over again.
Clinging too tightly to it.
Yeah. So using it as a starting point and then getting beyond it. At VAM,
which is Visual Arts Mississauga.
Sorry, yes, Visual Arts Mississauga. I'm offering 2 courses. I can remember. Okay, so one is abstraction in watercolor, and the other one is I've forgotten the exact name of it, but it is art from food. Not making it with food, but art of
Based on food.
Based on food. So food and packaging and preparation and all the, like, we all eat, we all have great stuff to look at and play with visually. So, and those are both 5-week courses, the abstract watercolor abstraction and that. And for my own part, I'm probably going to offer another 5-week chunk of collage explorations. And the other one I haven't figured out yet. So if you have
Send
any,
your suggestions.
send your suggestions. Exactly.
Because we like to teach what you want to take.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, some of it, I need to feel like it's something that I can teach you and that is interesting.
But that's also a moving target.
Yeah, absolutely. And I get good input from my students. So if you've got ideas, let me know.
Likewise with me, I sent out a minimalist survey in my last newsletter asking for people's votes or suggestions on my reduced winter term offerings. So if anyone here wants to offer that, you can just email us at kimandcal@me.com and just be sure to mention which one of us you're intending the suggestion for. Ooh, it's got some energy in it now.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting yellow.
Yeah, in fact, that yellow and that yellow are from different pages, but that's kind of fun.
Different yellows.
Yeah, slightly different.
It's nice
but
to have a
noticeably. And over in this area of the shoulder, I've got some interesting shapes from double exposures overlapping. And so I'm wondering about maybe picking some of those out and making them distinct and maybe cutting back to different layers, each one. Oops. There. And that flows right over to there. That flows down to that.
Looks like someone had to leave early.
It happens.
Yeah.
Have you seen how beautiful it is outside?
It sure is.
You can't blame anyone for having to bail a little early because of the weather.
Yesterday, I saw a lovely thing in our backyard looking out the window.
What was that?
The female cardinal. We always have a pair of cardinals who hang out in a nest in our backyard. And Mrs. Cardinal was perched on the topmost point of our patio umbrella.
Right.
Eyeing the barberry shrub, our giant barberry shrubs.
Yeah.
And the barberries right now have little tiny red berries on them. They're really small. And barberries have very slender, some stronger branches, but mostly very slender, flexible branches. So even when a bird rests on them, it sinks. And so she launched her, after contemplating the shrub for a while, she launched herself from the tip of the umbrella and flew past the shrub, but planned her route just so that she could snatch one of the berries in her mouth while
on the way
she flew
by.
past.
Wow.
And then landed on the fence beyond.
Wow.
Ricky would like to know more about collage explorations. Could you?
Yeah, absolutely. So
expand on that?
So Collage Explorations is a course that it's an ongoing exploration is how I would put it. We cover basic things, or the course covers basic things like value and color systems and so on, as well as other things like more complicated things, more basic things, but always I always try and put a new spin on it each time, so that if a student's taken it before, in fact, in that course, I have several people who have taken it for most, if not all, of its
Numerous times.
iterations. Yeah, exactly.
And that's the idea.
And
that
that
it's
is
an
the idea,
ongoing thing.
exactly. So they tend to be 5-week chunks. It seems to be the case, and each 5-week chunk will have a little bit of overlap, but a lot of new.
But you're always looking at artists and what artists are doing.
Yeah, all my courses have a little bit of art history, which is often contemporary, in other words. So not history so much, although there is some 20th century stuff, contemporary work to look at. So for instance, Decollage was one of the things we did in the last set of 5. So we looked at Decollage artists and we tried it ourselves. And often that's what I do. I sort of figure out a whole bunch of options, and then piece them together in a way that this is a sort of varied smattering of interesting collage things. And then the next 5 weeks we'll have a little bit of overlap with that and a whole bunch of new.
And you discuss the artistic thinking, the design thinking.
Yeah, all of my courses have some design thinking in them because that's me. My courses, the courses I run for my own, always have a Facebook page as well, where you can post, just like the Collage Jam has. And I look at and comment on people's work, and people can see everyone else's work in the class. And part of the class is we go take a quick look at that, so that we can share it. And there's usually some working time to do a short exercise and a longer exercise that you can do during the week, to the extent that you want, right? Some people may have like 15 hours that they can spend on it. Some people may have 15 minutes. So it accommodates either of those. So yeah.
That should help Ricky.
Yeah, hopefully.
I'm just going to put in the chat that the previous collage explorations description and details is still up on Cal's website.
Yes, and in fact, this Thursday, I am starting my next round of collage explorations. And while the live class is full, if you want to take that, you can take it still as a video only student, which means you get the recordings of the classes, and you can still participate on the Facebook page. The only thing is you can't take the actual live class on Zoom because
there's a limit.
There is a limit to how many people one can juggle within a class. Right, that. I want to get down to the map in this area, I think. Where is that map? There it is. That piece of stay though.
There, so hopefully you can see the comment that I've put the information there, including our special version of website links, which has 3 dots wherever there should just be 1 in the web URL. So please feel free to take a look, Ricky, and anyone else who might be interested. I have you know, both of my current courses, I have both a combination of video only students, which also includes the Facebook group, and live students on the Zoom classes. So that's contemporary mixed media explorations and Photoshop for artists. It's nice because not everybody's schedule suits the time of the class, and
You know, Kim and I have both done a lot of in-person teaching over the years, and something I have to say, as a student, I think it's a great experience learning on Zoom. There are
some limitations.
Limitations, but how many other situations can you take a live class, but if you have something come up where you can't make it, you can still watch, you don't miss it entirely, right? You can watch the video afterwards, you can still participate. So I think that's pretty compelling.
Wonderful. Also, you can play and replay specific sections.
Yes, exactly. Lots of my students really enjoy my art history sections, and they're always like, who's that artist? Can you say the name again? And I send a follow-up email with all the names, and it's also recorded. So if it's like, oh, I really love that artist he showed, you can go back through the video and see that work again. I always love turning people on to new artists they maybe didn't know about.
Or new work by artists they did know, but they didn't know this work.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
Rebecca points out there's no commute.
Yes, the commute is
especially schlepping lots of materials like for collage or mixed media, right? Oh, that lovely tearing sound.
Is that better or is it better? It is better. Okay. So.
Do you want to?
I know that we must be getting to that point. So.
Yeah, it is just after 3:30 now, and I was, even if it weren't, I was going to say it might be a good time to hold up what you're doing because you've clearly made a ton of progress on this, and watching it obliquely is one thing, but being able to see the image properly is another.
So I'm just getting a couple of the bits that are
the dangly bits.
The dangly bits getting stuck down a little bit so you can sort of see what I've been up to.
That's got some lovely stuff going on.
Yeah. So there's some things I'm happy about with this one. So we'll see. Take a little look-see.
The face is very whole.
Yeah. So I will definitely mess with that. The first thing I did was I took some of the double exposure second face here and cut that away. So we've got this sort of more graphic stuff showing through there.
Maybe lift it up a little higher.
And
there we go.
Over here, I had also double exposure stuff. And I realized, oh, there's that map there. And that's still light, kind of the way this was, which I like. Still leaves the shoulder reading nicely. I cut an arbitrary arc here, which I like. It kind of echoes some of these arcs over here. This I was really happy with. I tore this sort of a lining from there and revealed this other glimpse of someone else sort of looking down into it. I really like that. So that area is something I'm very pleased with. I think Kim is absolutely right. I'll probably maybe take some of either the features or some of the planes of the face out to see what happens. This I'm happy with. I sort of cut, this is the double exposure from that original image of the eye, and I sort of made it more graphic shape secondarily, which I like. So I think this one's coming along in an interesting way. Let's put it that way.
I think so.
Yeah. And that tear there, and then the sort of flow over here, I might try tearing something over here as well. I might not. it's actually might be more interesting to have these cuts and tears here and then the photographic bore over there. So not sure. So
Well,
2 works in progress as usual.
great.
But
You want to recap the other one? Just
yeah,
so
sure. So
we're
this is
concluding?
where this one is right now. The hand still, I'm liking that area definitely. This area, I'm not sure. Like that doesn't quite read, so I'm not sure what to do with these.
Oh, you don't
different
think
layers.
that reads?
Well,
That's interesting.
it reads okay, but it's got a sort of geometric shape that bugs me. But maybe I shouldn't worry about it. Yeah.
Because of the other red hand, I would say that actually reads quite well.
Yeah. See, and that's the kind of thing that maybe I figure out after the fact. Because it didn't occur to me, but that's true.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I will take those a little further and post any that actually get done on on our Facebook page. All right. Thank you so much for coming out, guys.
And a week from today is
Kim's virtual studio party.
He remembered what it's called. I'm so proud of you, Cal.
So I hope you'll join us same place but different bat channel.
You can
In fact,
feel free
Kim's,
to collage or decollage. And
Kim's
yes,
bat
it's
channel.
On my YouTube channel.
Kim's
Kim
YouTube
Lee
channel. Yeah, exactly. And I look forward to seeing your day collages on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Any other last things you need to pass along to me?
Well, just it's always a pleasure, Cal.
It is. It's always nice hanging out with you. Thank you for spending your Saturday afternoon.
And it's great that we can have, it's like having everybody over at our house.
Yeah, it is actually.
Except there's room. And we don't have to tidy.
Virtually is the only way there's room at our house for very many people, sadly. But yeah.
So thank you for joining us, everybody.
Yes, thank you so much.
We're getting thank yous.
Stay well and keep collaging.
Yeah. And decollaging.
And decollaging. Get on a tear and enjoy it.
And enjoy the rest of however long this lasts.
I think I saw something about Monday and Tuesday being like this. Monday, Tuesday having highs of 20 degrees. So
I feel like we should be camping instead of
absolutely.
living normal lives. Yeah. Honestly.
I'll have to cancel my Monday course.
Okay.
Don't worry. That's not happening.
When we have great weather in November, shouldn't that be declared a holiday?
In Canada, definitely.
Just, period.
Yeah.
Oh, have a lovely week, everybody. And I hope to see some of you next weekend.
Yeah, join us next weekend.
Yes, and it's really good that we tore you away from CNN, Gerda, because, man, I know it's been a week, right?
It becomes a sort of a unhealthy addiction, right?
Yeah. So it's really good to have a gentle, creative
have a little break. Think about other things. Look at other things. Yeah.
Anyway, it's looking up. So have a great week, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks so much, guys.
Take care.